The magic of the modern Mooney. This new 252 represents the technological culmination of a long line of Mooneys that began in 1952 with a single-seat Mooney Mite.
Hey, it's Rich back with you for another video with a 1969 Mooney M20F Executive. This airplane belonged to Bill Cox, famous aviation writer. We're going to take it up and talk to you about this airplane.
9165 Victor's ready at 26 left for a left turnout.
November 90165 Victor, Long Beach Airport is requested runway 26 left, cleared for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff 26 left, 9165 Victor.
10 Whiskey Charlie, they're just coming to you right now, same altitude.
Let there be Mooney flying. That all looks good. That all looks. Airspeed's going up. Okay, here we are off of the coast of Long Beach in this 1969 Mooney M20F. And this is a little bit of history about these Moonies. You know, Mooney, I think the Mooney brothers started way back pre-Depression. And I think the first company they started was actually went bankrupt because of the Depression. And then it was later in the 50s before I believe they got back into building airplanes, and built a lot of airplanes over the years, and known for performance and efficiency and utility. And I can attest to that because you know, we've taken lots of airplanes in trade over the years, and we took a Mooney one time. I think it was an Ovation in trade. And we had the airplane for about 6 months, and I flew it during that time to travel around for business, and it was a great, fast, stable, good IFR airplane, and very fuel efficient, very economical to operate. And that holds true for Mooney throughout the history of the airplanes. This is the M20F Executive. I think these came out in about 1965, and this particular one's a 69 model, and I think they upped the gross weight a couple of 100 pounds, and they stretched the cabin about 10 inches, and that's where that third window came from. And had a really good run of the M20F and the progression of Moonies. And I don't remember the last, you know, the Acclaim Type S was the last one that was ever built. But people who have Moonies, and I can put myself in that category, people who have owned Moonies, tend to really love the airplane. They're just really good, solid. It's just like this airplane. I mean, this is a 1969. I got it trimmed up, and it's stable and solid feeling as you can get. And we're indicating about 142 mile an hour, so fast. Now, this particular airplane is special to me because it was owned by Bill Cox, the famous aviation writer. When I was a kid and up through the times, I used to read all of his articles in Plane and Pilot magazine. And he flew everything, and in those days, if you wanted to highlight an airplane, all the manufacturers, especially light general aviation airplanes, all the manufacturers would get Bill Cox to come out and do a demonstration and write a magazine article about the airplane. And probably during the 70s and 80s, he was if not one of the most well-known aviation writers out there. And he also participated in a ABC series, The Wide World of Flying, that was on network TV for I don't know how long, probably maybe in the early 90s. But Bill was one of the people that showed airplanes in that era, and so just a really prominent personality in the aviation press back in the 80s and 90s. And I met Bill when I worked for Cessna, and I read all of his articles. So when I found out I was going to get to fly with him, I was pretty excited, and we flew a new 172, probably in 1996. Out to Independence, Kansas, and we jumped in a brand new Skyhawk, and that's the first time I got to fly with Bill. And he was Southern California based, so when I moved to California, I got to fly with him many, many times over the years in different airplanes, and learned a lot from Bill Cox as I got to fly with him over the years, and just did a lot of stuff with him. And ironically, I never flew in this airplane with him. Usually the airplanes that I flew were airplanes that we were test flying. And Bill was a real experienced pilot. And he also, one of the other things that he did was ferried airplanes all over the world. And one of probably my best memories of flying with Bill Cox was almost every time I saw him, he would end up telling me about a story ferrying an airplane somewhere. And the thing about Bill was all of his stories were, you knew they were real, they weren't exaggerated. And he was a great storyteller. And the other remarkable thing about Bill Cox is something that I have come to appreciate as I get older. I don't think he ever told me the same story twice. And that's pretty amazing, because I'm always, I feel like I have to ask people that I already told you this once or twice. But Bill, all the stories he told me, I don't think he ever told me the same story twice. And that was decades of flying airplanes all over the world. So it's pretty cool for me to, to be flying his airplane. I haven't talked to Bill in a while, but that's why this is such a special airplane, and I'm really glad that we got a chance to get it up to speed, get it annualed, and then it's going to a new owner, and that's pretty cool for me. Performance in these little Moonies, like, the last Moonies ever made were probably the fastest piston engine airplanes. And I think they claimed, 230 plus knots at 25,000 feet. And the Acclaims and but as far as speed, performance, if you wanted, the fastest single engine piston airplane you could get, probably in that era, it was a Mooney. It probably still is. And as far as these older Moonies, like this one, this is a 1969 M20F Executive. They're pretty tight cockpits, but, true airspeed, this is a 200 horsepower Lycoming, 360, I believe. And you're probably looking at 60 knots on 8 to 10 gallons an hour. And, another thing I like about airplanes in this vintage is this airplane can provide a lot of utility, especially with new avionics. You can upgrade them. There's probably lots of different autopilots you can put in this airplane. And you can have a really good utilitarian airplane to get around and do business, or, take trips, and do it economically. And that, to me, is appealing about an airplane like this, because it's not going to break the bank. It's not $1 million airplane. You can have something like this for probably $100,000, and it's still fast, economical travel. Get you from point A to point B, just like a $1 million airplane would. And so it opens the door to a lot more people to be able to afford something like this. And I personally have always, I'm probably guilty of saying I love all these airplanes, I really do, but Moonies have always been something, they control really good, nice flight controls, light, easy to fly, fun to fly, but they're also fast and efficient. And the only weakness is probably the cabin size. We're pretty much shoulder to shoulder and not a lot of leg room. And in the back actually doesn't look too bad. Again, this one's 10 inches longer. Okay, so one of the things about when Bill was writing for the magazines, you know, one way to get your product reviewed was to send it to Bill and let him, you know, maybe get it installed in his airplane, and then he would test it and review the equipment. And so this airplane has a lot of different instruments in it, components, and again at a time when there was probably a lot more options for avionics and different components. Just loaded with lots of components, and really, like, when you go back in time like this, it really makes you appreciate the kind of the integrated flight instruments that we have now. You know, like G1000 is probably the ultimate example of how they've integrated all these components really into 2 or 3 screens, depending on what airplane you're flying. So we just don't, you know, this. So a lot of people that never flew with this, they'd probably be looking at this saying, "Oh my gosh, like, how do you deal with that?" But this is the way, you know, a whole, I mean, many generations of pilots flew prior to electronic flight displays. Long Beach, Mooney, 9165 Victor is just east of Queens Gate for 26 left.
November 9165 Victor, Long Beach Tower. Fly to the Queen Mary, then make left traffic, runway 26 left, confirm Mayor to Foxtrot. November 65 Victor, reduce speed and turn left about 20 degrees. You're following a Cessna a mile west of Signal Hill. Are you familiar with Signal Hill?
Familiar with Signal Hill. We're turning left 20, 9165 Victor.
November 65 Victor, thanks. If you can slow it down to follow them, you're number 5, and say aircraft type.
We're in a Mooney M20, and we're going to slow down to follow the traffic.
Thank you.
Let's put the gear down.
November 3 Delta Golf, and then instructions extend downwind.
Extend downwind, 3 Delta Golf.
Gears down.
Long Beach Tower, Cherokee 9260 Tango, hold short 26 left, like a left turn for river.
Moonies are notoriously, I wouldn't say they're hard to land, but they have a very short.
Mooney 65 Victor, base approved. There's going to be 1 departure prior to runway 26 left, clear to land.
Turn to base, clear to land 26 left, 65 Victor.
Number 3 Delta Golf, turn left Foxtrot.
They don't have a lot of prop clearance.
Foxtrot 3, contact ground, 3 Delta Golf.
And people think they got to fly them fast, which you really don't. You have to fly fast on final. They hit and they porpoise a little bit, or they, you know, they bounce because they're too fast, and then people push the nose down and they porpoise and they get a prop strike, which is very common on Moonies. Pretty fast, so I'm gonna let the speed down. Not be in a hurry to get on the runway.
Long Beach Tower, Piaggio 29 Juliet Sierra, Gunny inbound.
Piaggio 29 Juliet Sierra, Long Beach Tower, runway 30, clear to land. Hold short of runway 26 right for traffic and come.
Hold short 26 right, 29 Juliet Sierra. It was like a Kilo roll when able.
You know, I get to fly a lot of different airplanes, but that was a special for me, like I said, based on my relationship with Bill Cox. And this is, you know, it's a cool airplane. Moonies are cool airplanes regardless of, in my opinion, regardless of what year or vintage. This airplane has a lot of value to me. Anyway, this one sold. It didn't last on the market very long. It sold quick, but we'll get more in. If you're ever interested in talking about Moonies, give me a call. And hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.